This is a game that was played between two members of the Washington Chess Club. White begins by moving the pawn to e3. It's not a bad move, but a better move would have been to move to e4. For one, it gets the piece out into the game, and it also has an influence on the central squares as well, which in chess, the player who has the most control over those four central squares is usually the one who's in a better position to win the game. But white went to e3, and black responds by moving the black pawn up 2, which is great. Now, I told you before that moving a pawn up 1 is not a great move, but in this position, black is okay moving the pawn up 1. And the reason why is that the pawn here on e5 is unprotected. So by moving the pawn up 1, it protects that piece. So moving on, again, white moves another pawn up 1. 2 would be a little bit better because it puts it toward the middle of the board. Now this was kind of a weak move right here, because by having the pawn move up 1, first of all, it's moving the same piece more than once at the beginning of the game, and it also no longer protects the pawn on e5. So white could now easily capture that piece for free. But instead, white develops, and we'll go through the next few moves here. Now, here's an unprotected piece right here from white. So, as you can see, there's no piece backing it up, so black could take it for free. Also, if black were to take that piece, there would be a check on the king and also an attack on the rook. And that's called a fork, when one piece attacks two other pieces at the same time. But white moves the bishop instead, so now that piece is free, and black can just go down, or it's unprotected, and so black can move it down and take it for free. So we'll make a couple of more moves in this game. Okay, here is another unprotected piece. And so black takes the unprotected piece, and you can see black now has an unprotected piece that white could take advantage of, but white doesn't do it. White leaves it alone. Now here's an interesting tactic in chess. It's called an X-ray attack. And really strong chess players pretend like their pieces have X-ray vision and can see through pieces. So here, the black queen is going to use X-ray vision to look through the knight and then attack the rook. And so what that means is if white now moves the knight, then black could take the rook for free. That is called a pin in a piece. I call it X-ray attack. So moving on. Now here, black does another X-ray attack on the same piece. So there's a double X-ray attack on the same piece. And again, if the white knight moves out of the way, now black could capture either the queen or the rook. White makes a big mistake by moving the knight out of the way. And if you remember that X-ray attack, well, now we can take the queen. So black takes the queen. And in chess, whenever you take an opponent's queen, I call it a scalp. And I give away little scalps. They're just like little pieces of paper. Because there are so many chess players that give up their queens for less than another queen. And so I encourage chess players to look for tactics against their opponent's queen so that they can take the queen for something less than another queen. And so here the bishop takes the queen. It's a scalp. And yes, white can take back that piece, but a queen is worth 9 and a bishop is worth 3. And so black wins the exchange. But do you remember that other X-ray attack? Well, now you can see white has another unprotected piece, and now black takes that one for free. And you can also see here now that there's an unprotected knight in the game. So black moves there, or white moves the bishop there, and you can see we have another X-ray attack against the king, and so white's knight cannot move, or else that would put the king in check, and that white knight is also unprotected, so it's going to go down. So we'll make a couple of moves. Right here, black attacks white's bishop, and now black has what's called a double attack, which means that black is attacking two pieces of white's at the same time. So white's going to move one out of the way, but then black is going to take the other one. And now the king is in check. King has to move out of the way. We'll go a couple more moves into the game. Here is another X-ray attack. The rook is attacking the king, which has another rook on the other side. Now, white can defend this by moving the king here and protecting it. And it's also being defended as well by this bishop right here. But what white does is moves the king out of the way. Black goes ahead and takes the bishop, and it's called an exchange, 5 points for 5. But there's a really huge mistake that white makes. And I'll give you a hint. It's a one-move checkmate. Do you see what it is? Well, black saw the one-move checkmate, so black moved to the square e5, checkmate, and the game is over. And remember, checkmate means that the king is being attacked, and no matter what square the king goes to, and the king can't move there, because the knight is protecting that square. But all of the squares that the king could go to are being protected by the queen or the knight, and the game is over.